Well, greetings everyone, and welcome once again to our our shortened version this week of the Pugilist Corner, presented by the Dog Pound. We were supposed to have Mr. Sanchez McGee on tonight, but he's feeling a little under the weather, so we will bring him back along with some of the Tarver promotion guys next week. Um, but welcome once again to the Pugilist Corner. I am your host, James E. King III, on social media, better known as West Coast Steeler fan. Or if you're on Facebook, you can just type in James E. King 3 and you'll see the different pages come up. Our Cash App is $ JE King 3. All donations are used to fund our shows, and we appreciate all donations. Just hit that like button and that subscribe button. We appreciate all donations, and we thank you very much for your time watching our shows. We will be joined shortly by Miss Melissa Smith, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the fights that uh, are coming up, and we'll also talk about these women's pound per pound rankings that just came out. So if you're not familiar with Miss Smith, she's a regular on our show and very much in tuned with women's boxing. Uh, that being said, we were treated to a couple of a very good bout this weekend. For those of you know the Rigaroo, uh, he took his opponent out into the deep water and then eventually drowned him. Um, we all know about the age discrepancy, but I thought Regis put on a very good show. He kind of went to sleep, fell in love watching himself, and paid the price in the 10th round, but then came back and took the 10th and finally stopped his opponent in the 11th. So, congratulations to Regis, and we look forward to seeing what he's going to be doing very shortly within that weight division. Excuse me. We now have a very stacked, as always, a very stacked 140-pound division, and it looks like someone is going to have to get in the ring with the Rougarou. He has a belt now, and there's no getting around it. Someone is going to have uh, uh, come off that 140, and we're going to probably see a fight that we should have seen a long time ago. Other rumors going around that we haven't heard that we have heard a lot about is a potential Terrence Crawford and Jamal Charlo fight. And once again, when you start talking about Charlo, even more than some of the other fighters out there, you have to wonder, is it all hype? Is this something that we are going to potentially see, or exactly how's this going to uh, fill out here. But that's an interesting route for. Oh, what's wrong with my lighting here tonight? Uh, I think that would be a very interesting route for a. Excuse me, for uh, a Crawford fight, um, and it's. I think it would also uh, put some butts in seats. I think this is a fight that uh, fans should be interested in. But I'm wondering, are we going to see catch weights again, or are we going to see legitimate weight classes? You know what what is going to be the caveat for the Chalos to come and make this fight. But once again, we shall see. Let's see. Uh, okay. All right. Um. Anyway, I know there's some weather systems up and down that East Coast. So it is possible that Melissa's either held up by weather or uh, internet connections. You never can tell nowadays um, with the way our weather is. And of course, her being on the East Coast, me being on the West Coast. But we'll see if we can get her in here. We wanted to talk about that. Um, uh, the proposed fight by the WBC for uh, let me pull my little list up here. Yeah, the Choi versus Baumgartner. Uh, WBA is ordering this fight, and I think it's a great fight. I don't know a lot about Miss Choi. I'm sure Melissa will tell us about her as uh, we go on and we find out more about the details concerning this fight. Also, Canelo says that after his May tune-up, he would like to have a rematch with Bivol. Um, Now, as you know, I am one of those that had predicted or whatever you want to call it, but my call was that Canelo would not be able to beat a Bivol. As I had said earlier, the two fights that I thought that he would not be able to win, moving up in weight, would be a fight against Bivol and a fight against Benavidez, trained by our good friend John Scully and Russ Amber. Now, maybe someone can put up in the comments how they think that. Let's see. What's up? Okay. I'll give Melissa a couple more minutes here before we start talking about some other things. But and the other and as always, Tank makes good YouTube, makes good publicity, and it always has a lot to say. But we're talking about a possible Ryan Garcia Tank matchup at 136 on the 15th of April in Vegas. Ryan has came out, saying that he'll knock Tank out and so forth, and Tank has kept the pressure on, saying that uh, actually the only two fights that he would like is either against uh, Devin Haney or um, okay, let me go back here. Um, or Shakur Stevens. Yeah. Um, and as you know, there have been uh, rumors that Haney handled uh, Devin, excuse me, Tank, when they sparred. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Okay. All right. We'll see what's going on there. Now, getting back to uh, things that talking about boxing history. Um, it was on uh, November 25th, I want to say. Let's see. Let me make sure I get this right. I believe it was November 5th. Uh, November 25th, I'm sorry. That the Hands of Stone. Uh, this is the anniversary, I believe. Is it the 50th? Uh, yes, yes, yes. On this day, excuse me, 25th of November, uh, Sugar Ray Leonard made Roberto Duran say no mas. And that was, of course, that was something that those of us that were alive and watching that fight, this was something that was unheard of. The great Roberto Duran quitting on the stool. This was something that has uh, okay. Yeah, I see. I see Melissa's here now, and we will. Let's see. We will. There she is. There she is. Good evening.
Hi. Hi. So sorry. My internet was down and I'm frantically
Oh,
trying to move
hey,
things over.
we figured that's what it was. I think you have a storm coming up the East Coast, right?
Yeah, pretty soon. And but in my case, I have something called Spectrum, which is a cable thing, and every so often they go out. So I was trying to get my phone to give me, a local area, and that wasn't working, but I got it all together, so my apologies. But I couldn't even text you, and then I got your text, I was like, "Oh my god, I just got it working."
No problem. No problem at
How
all.
are you? What's going on? How's life?
Oh, hey, life is good. I mean, every day that I wake up is a good day for me. I'm good. I can kind of figure out things from there. I just have to get through that most important part.
Yes,
You
get up.
know, yeah. So,
Wake up in the morning. No, I got you there.
yeah. So, how's your project going now? Before we start talking about other
Well,
things.
I'm working on a second book. It's a little slower than I would like, but it's going well. I'm covering the last 10 years in the sport. So much has happened in women's boxing since the Olympics in 2012. I mean, even as late as yesterday, Eddie Hearn from Matchroom Boxing was in an interview and talking about trying to get Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor too, at Croke Park in Ireland. So sometime in the spring. So it's a very, very, very exciting time. And as I said, the Olympics really helped legitimize the sport at at another level, and the kind of athletes coming out into the professional world since then have really been remarkable. So trying to capture that and doing the research for it is challenging. I gotta tell you.
Well, now, it's interesting you bring that up, but have we settled anything about the Olympics? Are we going to have boxing in the Olympics? What's going on?
Well, that
Uh,
is, yeah, that's a really good question, JK. We have, well, first of all, right now it is slated to be in Paris in 2024. The International Olympic Committee has taken over the boxing aspect and managing the boxing from the International Boxing Association, IBA, due to their lack of confidence in the IBA's ability to run a clean Olympic program.
wow, what happened? I mean, really?
Gee, go fight fixing, ref signals, judging problems. And then, the current president of IBA is a man named Kremlev, not even his real name. He's Russian. And their main sponsor had been Gazprom. Gazprom is the largest fuel, oil company in the former Soviet Union, in Russia. No other revenue streams. Questions even about last year's about the World Championships earlier this year, and we just completed the Youth International competition. Some great American women's boxing, by the way, at the youth level, but there have been questions raised about how they rolled out yet another new judging system, so without it really being baked. So there's a lot of question. There was a very dodgy election earlier this year, which never even came to the floor. They had the first time they were going to have an election, the Dutch head of the Dutch head of the boxing association in the Netherlands was not allowed to even be on the ballot. And then the IOC got involved and they said, okay, we'll redo the election. And the first part of that was you don't even have an election. You had the delegates decide whether or not they should even have a vote. And the delegates said, no, we don't need a vote. So
Yeah.
a lot of issues. So the way things stand, the last I understood it, is that the IOC, International Olympic Committee, will have a meeting in December. And at that meeting, they will decide whether to include boxing in the 2028 Olympics in Paris or whether they're going to defer that even further. Right now, it is not on the list. Neither is wrestling, by the way. And this, a lot will be determined in this December executive meeting. So we'll stay tuned for that. Pretty scary stuff.
Yeah,
Because,
I mean, wrestling's also been under the same scrutiny for many years, probably
yep.
maybe even longer than that. I remember the
Yeah.
Greco-Roman scandal,
Hmm.
probably way back in the day. Some of our listeners might not even been born then, but
Yeah.
anyway, it did. Uh, so yeah, it's but uh, do you think that one thing that they should take into consideration, or that they will take into consideration, is the pro boxing situation? I've never seen a reason for us to have pro boxers in the Olympics.
Oh, please. Yeah. I find that to be downright dangerous to have a professional boxer have the opportunity to fight an amateur boxer. It's criminal to me. And that was something that came in under the last years of the AIBA, which before it was renamed to IBA. Um, and that smacked of corruption in itself and paybacks. Um, and to me, the idea that a professional fighter would fight an amateur is ridiculous. Um, it's just dangerous. Boxing does not play. We just had a death in boxing this week. You know, um,
Yeah, the what was it, the guy that got hurt? He had a brain injury last
yes,
year.
yeah. I mean, Fuentes, I think was his name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we just. I mean, this is, and there've been 4 or 5 this year related to boxing. So boxing doesn't play, right? We lost a female boxer last year. There was a horrific injury earlier in the year of a female boxer in a light a junior welterweight fight in Scotland against Hannah Rankin. She was in a coma for a couple of weeks. I mean, she's coming back, but you know,
What was the African boxer?
yes, he just died a few months ago in South
Right,
Africa.
right.
So, we, at a time when, and it was just on Showtime, what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a fighter got knocked out in the 12th round who had no business being in the 12th round, right? And he was I think he's still in a coma. So, and I apologize for not having these names. They deserve us to name who they are, to say their names, because they're in dangerous, precarious job. Boxing does not play. So to put a professional,
Yeah, we've always said you can't play boxing. I mean,
you cannot play boxing. There's a reason why you say protect yourself at all times. Don't play boxing, and it's so, to my mind, having an amateur fighting a professional is just unconscionable. That having been said, yes, we know that under certain boxing programs, people will stay amateur for a very long time in their career and may be very experienced. That having been said, when you're in the draw, you may not get that fighter who's fought 200 amateur fights. You may be fighting somebody who's had 30 amateur fights. And there that professional is coming in, fighting that younger person who has only been fighting 4 round fights, has never gone the distance, has no sense of what a professional fighting stance is going to look like. And that is dangerous, whether it's male or female. That should not be allowed to happen. I find that unconscionable. And
see, I think people have forgotten. I mean, this is not the age of the boxing factories like we used to have in Cuba and
yeah,
Russia,
yeah.
and this is a different era,
Mm-hmm.
and and I think people are looking at that and saying, well, we need these guys, we all said it when we were talking about Taylor Filo and all those guys. Well,
Yeah, sure.
these guys are pros. Well,
Yeah.
but technically they're not pros. I mean,
Technically, they're not. Exactly right. And as you say, I mean, there are programs where fighters are more incentivized to remain amateurs. Listen, the American program for women incentivizes fighters to maintain their amateur status because they are taken care of. They live at the Olympic Village in Colorado. They
Colorado.
have training opportunities and so on. If you're in the U.S., the USA boxing team as an elite fighter, especially if you're a woman, you have an opportunity to make a living, if you will, as a boxer. You're not making a lot of money, but you're supported. But that still doesn't mean that you're out there as a professional, because amateur fighting is different than professional boxing. It's a different type of game. And we'll say this when we watch an amateur turn pro, we'll say, oh, he's still got that, amateur style. It's not as slick. It's not as well rounded, if you will. So to me, it's a more
It's not
dangerous
as
opportunity.
violent.
It's not
It's
as
not as
violent.
violent. I mean, come on, you got you
You're
got
not getting anything for a knockout. You get, your same point.
yeah,
So,
the
yeah, you're
gloves.
scoring every time you touch. It's a different method of fighting. It's a different style of fighting. And if you're fighting Europeans internationally, you're used to fighting you have a different opponent coming towards you in the ring. Um, you're not doing that, shoulder rolls and all of that. That does nothing in the amateur game.
Yeah,
So, yeah, really. I know WBC had, when this first happened a few years ago, the WBC had come out and said, if you are a title holder in the WBC and you perform as an amateur again, we'll strip you of your belt and you can't box for 2 years. Now, whether they've actually done that is unknown to me, but that was certainly what they stated.
yeah.
One other little permutation on the IBA, the International Boxing Association, is there was some press stuff, I think it was yesterday, that they're exploring a partnership with WBA to kind of link up amateur and pro boxing rules and all sorts of other stuff. And it's like, what is that about? And what about the other major sanctioning bodies? What's WBC going to say about all of that, or IBO, or I'm sorry, IBF, or WBO? Especially WBC, because they do a lot of amateurs. They support a lot of amateur programs, not only in the United States but around the world. So uh, that's going to be curious to see what happens.
Well, where is the USA boxing in all of this? I mean, where is our amateur so-called governing body in all this? It seems like everyone else has a lot to say, and they're just sitting around waiting to see
Well,
what's happening.
they're kind of waiting. They've definitely come out, in support of the. They're not as in support, if you will, of Kremlev. They have gone on record as having questions about his ability to run the IBA and questions about the financing of the IBA. They have supported Boris van der Vorst, who's he's the head of the Dutch boxing association, amateur boxing association. So they definitely supported Boris van der Vorst in terms of the election process, and but they're outvoted. It's basically, you've got Western Europe and Japan and the United States, and there's tremendous support for IBA in smaller countries. If you look at who at, at what the which delegates were voting to support IBA as is without even having an election, it was a lot of smaller countries in Africa, in Asia, in South America who had a lot of promises. They
You see, I think USA Boxing lost its grip on international boxing when they started letting other coaches coach our fighters.
yeah.
And I think once that happened, that they've never recovered, even though uh, I think that we need to have a stronger voice. I don't see a way like you mentioned. You have some of the smaller countries. You have a lot of European countries that have kind of dominated the politics of boxing. Uh, so I guess in the amateurs, it's the politics, whereas in professionals, it's the business of boxing.
Well, yeah, but I'm going to read you this. This is what came out today in Inside the Games. Now, I'll mention Inside the Games is basically a website that does a lot of articles on Olympic sports. They call it the inside track on world sport, but it goes into a lot of the Olympic stuff, and they do have a lot of articles on boxing. So what you had yesterday on the Monday the 28th was essentially they published the PR fluff piece about the relationship that was being developed between the IBA, International Boxing Association, set to collaborate with the World Boxing Association with a focus on creating single regulations for amateur and professional boxing. What? What is that? They have signed. So IBA President Umar Kremlin and his WBA counterpart, Gilberto Jesus Mendoza, have signed an agreement to develop a mutual roadmap for both disciplines when they met in Mexico City. This partnership will help with the integration of amateur boxers into professional boxing. Question. And then I look at that and go, okay, what does that even mean? And is there gambling somewhere over here? Okay. Partnership, medical safety and well-being management, coaches development in accordance with technical and competition rules. Within IBA, we are building a global home of boxing, says Kremlin. With the cooperation, we can provide the future of boxing as a sport. Our goal is to bridge the two organizations and give them opportunities to all boxers worldwide. So what is that even saying? That you fight as an amateur and then you have a ticket into WBA rankings? What does that even mean? I really don't understand.
And even going even further to murk up the picture, what do you do with all of the Russian and the Soviet champions that you're supposed to be sanctioning because of the war in Ukraine?
Oh, yeah. Listen, that's not happening in the IBA. IBA said, no, we're not sanctioning anyone except the Ukraine team, which they kicked out. They kicked Ukraine out of IBA. That's what they did. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, IOC says, no, they can't participate in Olympics, but IBA says, oh, that's fine. They can do whatever they want, but the Ukraine team is gone. They can't participate in IBA.
Yeah. So we'll burn your house down. We'll take your water. We'll cut off your electricity. And you
Yeah.
can't fight.
And
Okay.
you can't fight. And then they listen, Ukraine has their own problems. They have their own problems with their own Olympic committee. There was
Yeah, yeah.
again lots of big doings,
And
not boxing related, just in general. But so anyway, I it's concerning. I guess I had put out on Twitter, well, let's, can we hear from WBC, WBO, IBF, the other three major sanctioning committees on that? And everyone was pretty silent and kind of skeptically scratching their heads going, what?
yeah.
So but here's the thing that got to me, that the last sentence: finally a combined development program for trainers is being planned, while the two governing bodies also plan to work together on marketing strategies for events. Now, what does that mean? Marketing what? Is this going to cost people money? I mean, what are we talking here? It's
Uh,
there's money to be made here somewhere. Somebody's making some scratch, but
of course.
and what I fear, I guess I don't know if we've talked about this or not. The rapid rise of legalization of online gambling, and it will hit boxing. I mean, listen, on ESPN they do the line right, round by round. So,
I mean, you
this
can.
is where do we go with here?
I mean, I play, even though out here in California there are certain books that you can't play, but uh, you know, uh, FanDuel, MGM,
Yeah.
uh, there's I forget, a couple of years ago, you couldn't bet in California, but you could bet online in Tijuana.
Oh, yeah,
So
so you can go on
you
Twitter,
know,
yeah.
so so like you said, there's plenty of money to be made, but when you start making money, how do you and how does that amateur title work?
Well, listen, there was just a piece, I think, over the weekend about concerns, and it might have even been in the New York Times. It was had crossed into mainstream media outside of sports media about, the concerns of for amateur athleticism, NCAA colleges in football and basketball and so on, but even other sports, because of the infiltration of sports betting. And it's like a free for all, and how that's going to impact athletes down the
well,
line. You
well,
know,
not only that, you also have that NIL controversy going on, the name, image, likeness, where these kids are, really starting to be able to make some money off,
right?
the name, So, uh, but like you say, once you start talking about money, and you're talking about a lot of money,
No, this is
you-
big stretch.
Right, right. You're talking about, in some cases, seven figures, but in most cases at least six figures or more.
Yeah, it's not. When back, you and I remember back when it was. Oh, they got the keys to a car. This is the mansion. This is the fleet, right? This is the change your car with what your outfit you're wearing kind of money, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess when you're wearing sneakers that cost $1,000, then you got to, if your sneakers are 1,000, you got to pay $200 for the socks. You got to pay,
Right.
you can't have, you got to have the car that make people turn their heads. You can't, you can no longer drive that Escalade anymore. Now you got to have, the big Hummer, and so forth and so on. But it's like I said, once you start introducing uh, money, especially big money, into these situations, it's going to be very hard to uh, not only, I would say, regulate, but also to, uh, I think that there's no longer the chance for that local kid per se. Nowadays, you have to come in. You have to already have your game plan. You have to have your business plan in effect. The you know the there's no more that notice factor, that I factor. I don't think.
No, it starts to smack of. I mean, basically, these kids are scouted in junior high and in middle school and high school, and then even in high school, these games are being they're gambling on the games. On football and basketball in high school, right? So,
Melissa, come on, Melissa. How much money do you think is bet on the Little League World Series every
oh, forget about it.
year? Okay, I mean, let's
Yeah,
just be real.
yeah, inning by inning, with the
You know,
ESPN doing the line.
yeah,
Oh,
you know,
here's
uh, uh,
MGM. Here's
yeah, yeah. How
here's
many
the line.
pitches did he throw?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, but hey, it's getting a little
but
more dominant.
it's getting beyond just the World Series of Little League. It's the regular season high school games on decent teams. It's because if there's stuff to bet, then you'll bet. And what is it for a kid to miss a shot? Oh, I missed. Oops.
No, that doesn't. Yeah.
Oh, I
uh,
got fouled. Ooh.
or maybe I got fouled, but I can fake it, make it look like I got fouled.
Make it,
But yeah,
but the point is that it's an opportunity for corruption at a level we never understood. I mean, the amount of money is huge to be made. Um, and it's corrupt. And since we have no real governance, boxing, we've got 50 states and 50 boxing organizations, right? We have no. And
yeah.
then we have all the sanctioning. We've got 4 major, 5, 6. How many? We don't even know how many sanctioning bodies there are. You can just today say, "Oh, K9 boxing champion."
Well, I
Right?
mean,
You make up your
come
own
on,
rules,
come on.
and if somebody's willing to pay the money, you get to give them a belt.
Well, you got an interim belt, you got a gold belt, you got a diamond belt, you got a
You got
tin belt.
this,
You
you got
yeah,
internet, you got 9,000 levels, and
yeah,
that's just here, and then there's the ones in Mexico, and then there's South America, and then there's
yeah,
Central America, and then there's Caribbean.
yeah.
I mean,
So you have no idea what rankings mean anymore.
it's all money. So, we say that there are 4 major belts. We're in the 4 belt era. Okay, WIB, WBA, WBO, WBC, IBF. But there are a lot of other belts out there and a lot of other sanctioning bodies that work all the time.
Uh,
And
we were. I was just talking about some of the old fights before you came on, and
mhm.
the one that I was talking about was November 25th. The famous No Mas. Uh,
Yes.
without giving away too much, Melissa, where were you 50 years ago?
I was watching boxing. I was. I liked Sugar Ray. I thought Sugar Ray Leonard was great. He was a cutie pie, and after all those big boxers. No. I mean, I love watching Muhammad Ali. I guess my heart always went to Kenny Norton back in that day, that era. Just something about his overhand right just slayed me every time he threw it. But I do remember that fight, the No Mas, and you know that was people quit on the chair, right?
Yeah, first time, especially for Roberto Duran. I mean, the
Yeah.
ultimate, the ultimate machismo, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. Listen, what is it? Yesterday or the day before, a referee proudly talked about how we threw fights for Pacquiao. Really? So, I mean, Duran, no, he was a special guy. So I don't know what that was all. I never knew what that was about.
Speaking of how many sanctioning bodies there was, I was also looking at another article. Larry Holmes. Surprisingly, there was only three sanctioning bodies when he won his title. What year
Hmm.
was that? I'm trying to. I was looking it up here. 39 years ago, November
Wow.
25th, 1983.
1983, he won the first time. Wow.
And there were only three sanctioning bodies at that particular time.
Wow. That was
Yeah.
what, a Caesar's Palace or something?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
See, so we've definitely come a long way.
We have, right, and he fought Jerry Cooney. That's when
Uh,
they were 15
Jer-
round
Jer-
fights too,
Jerry
right?
Cooney, Marvin
Yeah.
Frazier.
Leon Spinks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, those were 15 rounders. You didn't, what wasn't no, as a matter of fact, it was the reason why we cut them down to 12.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, there was that Death in the Ring, and WBC was the first to cut it down to
yeah,
12.
yeah,
We have a friend named Bob Bozic. He was a bar. He was a boxer. He was a Serbian guy. He was a boxer. Originally, he came from Canada, and he became a bartender at a bar in Soho called Finelli's. He was a fixture at Finelli's for many, many years. He was very erudite, big guy, and he had fought Larry Holmes really in an early fight at Madison Square Garden, 6 rounders, and he would talk about fighting Larry Holmes and talk about how he had never been hit so hard in his entire life, and nobody could believe that he lasted through the 6 rounds because he just had a hard Serbian head.
yeah, yeah,
And he went through 6 rounds, lost by unanimous decision, but he made a living as a bartender on that story.
I'll tell you another great fight and this was 32 years ago, November
Mhm.
24th, 1990. One of the greatest one-punch knockouts ever, Julian Jackson. You remember that one?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I do not know that.
yeah, this one was let's see, who did he knock out?
I did not know that fight. I didn't see it. Gosh, I'm looking at his record. 55-6. Dang.
Yeah, guy, now you never would even think of guys having
Although Canelo, right?
56.
He's got a lot. Canelo. Doesn't he have a lot of fights?
Yeah, was that against Terry Norris? I'm trying
No,
to think.
you said November 24th, 1990 was Harold Graham
Yeah, okay, yeah,
for the WBC middleweight title.
yeah. That I think that was when everybody started recognizing Julian by that one
Yeah,
punch knock.
he got a 4th-round knockout.
But we have a lot of things going on in women's boxing. And
Mhm.
I want to go through this women's pound for pound with you, and you kind
Sure.
of let uh, a
Ring
lot of
magazine list, yeah?
yes, a lot of
Okay.
our listeners probably don't know women's pound per pound list. So I wanted to go over it and let you
Sure. Happy
school
to.
some of them. Okay, so let's start. Of course, number one is Clarissa Shields.
Yep. Absolutely. Number one is Clarissa Shields. And you know, she and Katie Taylor have been sharing that. They go back and forth, that number one. Katie had been in that position for about a year, and but with Clarissa Shields' win over Savannah Marshall, the committee unanimously said, "Now it's Clarissa's time now. Shields' time."
Uh, Katie Taylor drops to number two.
Yep, yep. I mean, again, they're so close. They're so close.
Amanda Serrano stays at number three.
Stays at number three. Yep. I mean, the news yesterday for her is that she's contesting for she's going to fight Erica Cruz. I think Erica Cruz is, I want to say, the IBF. I think that's what the belt is. Anyway, yeah, Amanda Serrano is now in a mandatory with Erica Cruz. That will be for undisputed featherweight. And the thinking is that Amanda will have that fight, and then once she wins, presumably, or even if she loses, then she'll fight Katie Taylor for their second fight.
Jessica McCaskill stays at number four.
No, she's dropped down. She's at 5 now. You're looking at as of the 24th of November, Chantel Cameron, who defeated Jessica McCaskill in their bout 3 weeks ago. Chantel Cameron is now in the number 4 position.
Okay, so I have Chantel at number 10. Who's at number 10 now then?
Natasha Jonas.
Okay, and I haven't heard much of her. Where is she from?
Well, Natasha Jonas is a British fighter, and she is at 100. Okay, Natasha Jonas was a lightweight fighter, and she fought at lightweight. She fought at junior lightweight, and she had she is a former Olympian. She didn't medal, but she was an Olympian in the 2012 Olympics, and then stayed an amateur for a while, then went into the pros. And she had a really kind of winning career. She had this crazy loss, and then it took her a while to kind of come back. And during the pandemic summer in 2020, she fought Terry Harper, and they had basically the fight of the summer, male or female. They had a great fight that was called a draw. A lot of people felt that Natasha Jonas should have gotten the win, myself included, but it was close. So it wasn't a robbery, but it was very close. And then she was fighting for Matchroom for Eddie Hearn, but having issues getting fights. And she went over to Boxer, and she jumped up to the 154 division, quickly won a belt. And then a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I guess it was a week ago, she fought Eva Marie Decaire from who held a belt at 154 from Canada, had a very good outing. And based on that, she bumped Savannah Marshall to the number 10 position. So she is now unified champion. She has 3 belts at 154. And Terry Harper has the other belt at 154. She defeated Hannah Rankin about a month or so ago, 6 weeks ago. She also jumped up from lightweight to 154, and they're both doing very well contesting at that weight. So Chantel Cameron had been, I think, at number 6 or 7.
She was at number 10.
Well, that you have an old list. This is, I don't know when your list is from. This is from November 24th. There's been a lot of
I think this is is Brumgardner still at number 5?
No, she's at 8. I don't know she was never at 5. So the ring list is Clarissa Shields 1, Katie Taylor 2, Amanda Serrano at 3, Chantel Cameron at 4. She had been at 6. She was bumped up based on her performance over Jessica McCaskill. Though she was, and Delphine Pursoon was at 5, and we pushed them both up over Delphine Pursoon. So Chantel is at 4, based on her performance and winning undisputed at 140 pounds over Jessica McCaskill. McCaskill to date still holds undisputed at 147, but there's some question as to whether she will maintain all of her belts because of her loss to Cameron. There's also talk of Cameron and McCaskill doing it again, but at 147. So we'll see what happens there.
So where's Alicia now?
I'll get to her. Alicia's at 8, which is moving up for her.
Okay.
At the number 6 position, again, newly put in that position is Sinisha Estrada.
Okay, I have her at 7.
Yeah, she's now at 6.
Okay.
We pushed her ahead of Pursoon based on Sinisha's performance a week ago on ESPN on her debut fight on Top Rank. She did a terrific job, coming into the ring after 11 months, didn't show any ring rust, had a really great fight over a game Argentinian fighter, maintained her belt, and just had a fantastic outing. She is a real deal, I'll tell you. She's a great fighter.
Yeah, I've watched her for quite some years.
Quite some time, right, because she's down by you.
Right.
She was fabulous. She was fabulous, although, had some issues with her own performance, and it will only improve. But she is an absolutely pound-for-pound top 10 fighter, and we expect her to potentially move up. Then at the number 7 position is Delphine Pursoon. Now, she had a controversial fight on the Mayweather card in Dubai. She was fighting a fighter who had no business in the ring with her, number 1. 2, just not experienced enough. And Pursoon was punching at her and knocked her down and kept coming. And the ref, I guess, didn't see it right away and then waved her off and jumped out in front. But she had hit her when she was down. And it ended up being ruled a no contest. There were those who felt it should have been a DQ. We were of the opinion that it was fair to call it an NC because she was in the moment. She wasn't intentionally trying to hurt the girl, hurt her opponent or, unfairly. She just was in the moment and the ref wasn't there. So
okay,
protect yourself at all times. Then we have Alicia Baumgardner at 8. She is now ahead of Michaela Mayer because she defeated her on the Clarissa Shields card. And Alicia Baumgardner has 3 belts, and she is going to fight Choi.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one.
Yeah, and that is going to be, that's because that is a mandatory now. So that's kind of cool. So that'll be for undisputed. And we'll see how that goes. Now, there's a lot of bad blood right now between Mayer and Mayer and Baumgardner, because Baumgardner, Mayer's like, you should give me an immediate, give me a rematch.
Yeah.
Baumgardner's like, hell no, I'm not doing that. So she's gonna fight Choi, who has the other belt, and go for undisputed. And right now it's mandatory. So it's just a question of when that's going to happen. Now, Choi fought like a week or so after Baumgardner in a crazy, in an empty venue in Korea. I mean, that was a nutty fight. But we'll see how that all goes. So that'll happen. And then you got Michaela Mayer. She took a little bit of a break. She's back in the gym. Not certain what her next moves are going to look like or who she's going to fight. Whether she's going to stay at junior lightweight, pop up in weight, we don't know. She can certainly go higher. And then, as I said, at rounding out the number 10 position is Natasha Jonas. She just made her debut on the list, bumping Savannah Marshall, who had been at number 10. And we don't know how long she'll stay there. It depends on what happens with her next thing. Now, her team has been talking about having her fight, Katie Taylor or fight Jessica McCaskill, not fight Terry Harper, who's got the other belt at 154. I know there was an offer made from Matchroom to Natasha Jonas. That's allegedly been poo-pooed. Not interested. We shall see. Ben, the boxer team is saying no. She should be fighting Katie Taylor. Well, why would Katie Taylor fight her? She already beat her. What, she's going to jump down to lightweight to fight Katie Taylor? I don't think that's going to happen. To me, anyway. Why would she bother? Why would she fight her or McCaskill unless it was for a lot of money? And then the other is, we'll have Jonas fight Claressa Shields at 154. But I'm sorry, Claressa Shields have wiped the floor with her. But whatever. Well, again, if it's for a lot of money, Shields will fight her.
As Franchon, is she out of the top 10?
She's not. She hasn't been in the top 10 pound for pound. She's the ring champion at 168, but she's not at pound for pound.
Okay, all right. Now, what about this Choi versus Baumgartner? What should we look for? And as you said, I don't think a lot of people really know who this Choi is.
Yeah, I mean, she's had the championship for a while. And she's a good fighter, but I don't think she'll be anywhere near competitive for Baumgartner. I think Baumgartner is a really strong fighter. She's quick. She's smart in the ring. I just don't see how Choi Hyun-Mi Choi can defeat her. Listen, Choi is 20-0 with one draw. Her last fight was, as I said, in Seoul. She holds the WBA World Super Featherweight and has for a number of years. She's had it since 2017. Yeah, wow. She won it in 2017, but she's mostly fought in South Korea. I think she fought Calista Salgado in 2020 at the Hard Rock in Seminole Hard Rock and Casino. But Salgado is a tomato can. She's not a real competitor. Everybody fights her. She's a professional opponent, right?
Okay.
And then her next fight was back in Korea. She won. She got a TKO after the 9th round against a fighter named Simone Aparecida da Silva. She's got a 17-22 record, so that'll tell you. Her last loss was just. She's a professional loser.
It's okay. Yeah.
She's got a lot of losses. She's lost to a lot of people. She lost to Serrano. She lost to Choi. She lost to Calliope Coriani. She lost to Marcella Carnejo. She also moves around in weight, Okay. So she's fought at 152, at 160, at 136, at 130. She's a professional fighter as an opponent. So I don't know that Choi has really fought someone of the caliber of Baumgartner in quite a while. She's fought some good fighters in Korea. She fought Marnia Alejandra Gomez. She's a good fighter in 2018. So she's had some good fights, but it's been a while since she had a real opponent.
Yeah.
And I think Baumgartner, who is just so on her toes, it's funny about her because on the one hand, she's on her toes and then she sinks and bam, she is hard hitting. I will never, ever, ever forget that shot to freeze Terry Harper as she stood. And if she hadn't been caught by that ref, she would have gone down like a tree.
Yeah, that is a good punch. And when you watch it, like you say, if she had been caught by the ref, yeah. Um, Canelo says he wants a rematch with Bivol after his May tune-up. Uh, do you see any changes in the outcome?
No, not unless Canelo really changes how he fights. I don't see it. Bivol is a machine.
Well,
I,
I had said that Bivol or Arthur Benavidez were the two fighters that Canelo couldn't beat,
yeah,
and
I agree.
you know, but you know, unless it's about the money, I don't think that the outcome is going to be any different. But that might be Canelo's a bigger payday for Canelo,
It, it,
considering.
yeah, I think you're right. That might be it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can really think of. And lastly, I know you're 3 hours ahead, so I'm going to let you go.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Tank and Ryan Garcia. A lot of smack talk this week.
Hmm.
Ryan says
Hmm.
he's going to knock him out and so forth.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah.
of course, Tank says the only two that he's really interested in fighting are Devin Haney or Shakur Stevens. But what do you think about this matchup? And do you think that Ryan can beat Tank?
I think that's going to be a stretch because Tank is so loose, so versatile in the ring. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I think Tank is a little too big for Ryan, and not only that, I think Tank has that different mentality.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Ryan's a gentleman, but I think Tank has just a little too much dog in him, and uh, having had that Mayweather experience, whether he wants to admit it or not, it did make him a much better fighter.
Well, yeah, and as you say, he's been in wars and at a level. And Garcia, I'm not saying he's had it easy because no boxer ever has it easy,
No.
but he's pretty. You know what I mean? He fights pretty. He has
Yeah.
that. I'm pretty. I'm
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a little attitude that may not quite make it against a fighter of takes capacity and capability. So I don't know. It would be an interesting fight to watch. I'll definitely watch it. I'll definitely watch that.
And also, like you said, he fights. Ryan fights pretty. What happens if Tank cuts him?
Well, yeah, that's it. Or really hurts him.
Yeah.
I I mean, look, he's 23-0. That's a nice thing. He's had a lot of he's had a lot of KOs, but you got to again, like, who's he really fighting in his record? How much is that is padded? How much is real? How much adversity has he really faced in the ring? And that right now in this era, we're all about the zero record, and it does a disservice to boxers sometimes because you learn from losses, you learn from adversity, and
Yeah. And some of our greatest fighters don't necessarily have an O beside their name either. Uh,
yeah, most of them don't. A lot of them don't.
Sugar Ray Robinson, Marvin Hagler. I mean, we can go
Yeah,
down and down. Keep on going
yeah.
down the line. I mean, Muhammad Ali. I mean, Joe Louis. You can go on
They
and
all
on
have
and
they
on.
all have yeah, and among women it is less a thing. And you see it and it's okay, It's okay to have a loss or two or three. You can deal with it. You learn from it. We're kind of we're at a funny stage to me in boxing because we're all about boxing stars and who's going to be the next star and protecting people's O's and making such a big deal about it and also insisting that every win be by KO, uh, which is another problem because it does a disservice to the sport in a way. Because the sport isn't only about KOs. Like, yeah, you got to set it up, you got to do a lot of things, but it's also boxing, you know, and I love boxing, so it's boxing I'm interested in less so than a KO in the first round. I like to
Yeah,
see a fight. You know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
watch somebody break somebody down, and it's the ninth or 10th round.
Yeah,
Um,
and you wait for it, you anticipate it. It's like you want to see what happens in the second half of that fight.
right, exactly.
You want to see rounds 7 through 12. You want to see if you can still maintain that stamina, whether you're still in shape.
Exactly. How is he dealing with that adversary, or with having been down in a flash knockdown in the second round, or having been cut? You know, and we see that in women's fights all the time. That kind of adversity, because they're hitting each other. They never stop fighting, right? You don't have, because of the round structure, they're constantly moving and fighting. So
Uh,
you get hit, you get hurt, and working through that is what boxing is all about.
are we going to see any legislation in 2023 about 3-minute rounds for women?
Well, it's legal in most places. Its issue is, and WBA sanctions 3-minute rounds in title fights. It's going to be a matter of what WBC says. I think, in my opinion, I think the first thing that's going to happen is that there's going to be a push to 12 rounds for undisputed or unification bouts. I think that'll come first, would be my guess. So instead of 10 by 2, you'd have 12 by 2 for like a Shields Marshall kind of fight, or Taylor Serrano. 3 minutes is going to be a lot harder, because you got to get past WBC, and they right now are saying no, 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 no.
Yeah, but if you want to start putting up more money for those fights, I think you're going to have to start giving the fans
Well, you're
more
going to
what
have
they
to give them
want.
more. And if you give them 12 rounds, you're giving them more, you know. And I think that's where it'll start, in my opinion. But the 3 minutes, they're not there yet. They're not. Now, that's not to say that WBC won't change its mind. They will be persuaded. Listen, if the big, big, big dogs really want it, they're going to have to figure that out. But my guess is 12 by 2 rather than 10 by 3.
All right, well, hey, thanks as always. Like I said, sorry if you keep me up a little past your
No,
bedtime.
no, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry for my internet problems, but I thank you very much for being so kind and bearing with me as I got my phone all set up.
No problem. But hey, we look forward to always talking to you about women's boxing and about the game in general.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank
Appreciate your
you,
time.
thank
Give
you.
us your final thoughts, any
Sure.
projects where we can find you, all of that good stuff.
Great. Thank you so much. On Twitter, as long as it's there, I'm there to the bitter end. I'm at Girl Boxing Now. I'm at Girl Boxing Now on Instagram. And any new stuff, I'm trying out Mastodon. I'm trying out
Yeah, I'm on
Tribal.
Mastodon too.
Cool. Yeah,
I
I'm
did try that.
girlboxing.world, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that one out. But if you put in Girl Boxing Now, you'll find me. That's my name always. And and other than that, I write my pieces on my blog, girlboxing.org, primarily more about caregiving and that whole community and of support for folks who dedicate their lives to helping others as caregivers, and occasional pieces on boxing.
Have you heard or written anything about Wilfredo's sister?
No.
Okay, I think Vince is doing something this year at the Chicago Boxing Brotherhood. He usually does something for Wilfred's sister and uh, uh, who else is it? Is it Gerald McCullough's sister? I think.
I don't know. Would you do me a favor and drop me a short line about it, and I'll see if we can do something.
Okay, all right, I will
I
do.
appreciate that.
All right, you have a good night, and as
Thank
always,
you.
appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Yes, that was Miss Melissa Smith at Girl Boxing. We always appreciate her time. As I said, we were hoping to get Mr. Sanchez McGee on, who was victorious on November 5th. But we hope to get him on possibly next week. He's a little under the weather. And we thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great rest of your week. And if you're interested in any of this gear that you see me wearing here, you can catch it at K9Boxing.com. K9 has his merchandise on sale, anything from shoes to wraps to hats, t-shirts. So check out the merch over at K9 Boxing. We thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we look forward to talking to you next week right here on the Pugilist Corner. Have a great night. See you next week, everyone.